What's been Joe Rogan's experiences? You've been on his show a few times, I think.
Well,
right?
one time.
Once,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And he kind of embraced it. Then he was like complaining about some digestion issues, but I know he's gone back on it a few times.
Right.
What's been Joe's experience as far as you know? And then what are some of the symptoms of coming on this diet? Like, is it hard to adjust to?
Yeah, well, so Joe, he went on it back in, I think, January of like 2020, I think, something like that, and he felt really good. He had some issues with loose stools, initially lasted about 2 weeks, and it got better. And then he went off, and then he contacted me in August, and I'm going on again, because it's the best I've ever felt in my life. And so I know he does it periodically, and he eats a mostly meat diet. You see him, he's always eating his elk that he shot and all that stuff. So he's, and this is what I think, I'm not very dogmatic about it. I don't tell people, don't eat plants, don't eat a blueberry, oh my gosh. I think it's important to realize that many people do this kind of as a time-limited treatment to fix things, kind of like a reset button. And then most people end up 90%, 80%, something like that, where they're eating a lot of meat, a lot of eggs, red meat, fish, whatever they prefer, and then they put 20% other whole foods in. And that's a great diet too. I think that's really good. That's something that our company does. We use AI to help people figure that out, see what they actually do. They need to be on a fully restrictive, diet, and some people do for a period of time. But usually we can get people to be on somewhat of a, kind of a less restrictive diet, which I think works in the long range.
Okay. You mentioned your company, Rivera. What are you doing with the company? I know you raised some capital recently, and you got some big plans. AI-based medical nutrition therapy. That sounds pretty high tech. So what are you trying to do? Yeah,
so we've learned a lot by putting people on elimination diets. We've solved a lot of problems for people. And so we typically find out, they do this for 6 months, a year, then they start adding things back in. We find out how they react to that. And so we've got a database on thousands of people. And so we know that different demographics, how old you are, what sex you are, what your ethnicity is, what your lifestyle factors are, play a role on what you can eat. You cross-reference that with what disease states you have. Do you have depression? Do you have diabetes? Do you have psoriasis? On and on and on. So you have all these different permutations you put in there, and then you put the different food categories in that and use AI to solve that. And so that's what we're using as, prescribing, kind of personalized nutrition based upon who you are, what you're suffering with, what your lifestyle is like. In addition to that, we found that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So you got to be able to support them. So we gamify. We use the AI to help the physicians, to help people come off medications. We gamify the process through an app. We're doing, like, my sort of sentiment is, do whatever it takes to get these people healthy. If you've got to kidnap them and lock them in a, I'd like to do that sometimes. You just take a bunch of people and bring them to a camp for six weeks and just feed them what you want. But the bottom line is, what I found is community, and you probably found that within things like crypto. Community is so important when you're trying to change behaviors. You got to have somebody that they can relate to, that they can have an ally with, they can have somebody to kick them in the butt when they need it, motivate them, hold their hand. So that's part of it. So our company's going to do doing all those things. So but the AI kind of refines things a little better.
And I come to you and I think, look, I got to change something.
Right.
I hear some great things about a meat-based diet. Help me. And you come in and run their tests and do this and get them in the AI and start looking what they're doing, get feedback of how they're cheating or what they're eating, and try to keep them on track.
Right, and it may or may not be a meat-based diet depending on what the algorithm says. Now, I don't think it's going to spit out a vegan diet. It may. I'd be surprised if it does, but it might. So we have certain bias going in. But I think what we find is that, once you get somebody into the program and getting them invested in that, and when they start seeing wins, which we do very, very early, and that's something that most people have never experienced. When you get people that have been chronically in pain or chronically depressed for years and years and years, their expectation level is very low. When you actually start seeing significant improvements, and we do that very frequently, that's very motivating for these people. And so we get to, it just sort of builds upon itself.
And you see those all the time, right?
I see it every day. I do interviews just like we're doing. I do interviews with people that have changed their life, with nutrition, and it's literally amazing. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of these interviews now.
How quickly will people see results if they go on a meat-only diet?
Well, so again, we've got data on about 12,000 people. We see a big inflection point at 3 months, but we do see people within days. Like diabetics will come off diabetes medicine within days. Some people see their joints stop hurting within a week. It varies, but certainly by 3 months is when we typically see a big, just this big inflection point for most people.
And those joints coming off that, they're just getting inflammation from their processed foods or carbs or who knows.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's some data in there. So we know, for instance, that there's some study, the University of Alabama did a study looking at low carb versus low fat diets and knee pain, and they found low carbohydrate diets are clearly superior for knee pain. We know that high levels of insulin stimulate these cells called fibroblasts-like synoviocytes. And what happens is those cells secrete these inflammatory cytokines, which start to cause arthritic damage. And so if you lower the insulin levels, you see a reduction in that.
I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year's going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm gonna tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone, also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up.
If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you gonna do? What's the choice that you're going to make?